Welcome, everyone, to Watch Challenge. On each episode, we challenge ourselves to find and watch a film of a particular type and then report back the results to each other and you fine listeners as well. My name is Aaron Spears.
And I'm Mike Wendt. And this episode's challenge is VHS Action. I think I speak for both of us this was a kind of a fun episode to really dive into and just kind of go back to the days of the video store.
Oh, absolutely. Did you have a particular video store?
Yes. So I grew up on the west side, and we had Carino's Video, which was on. It's still probably one of the only ones open brick and mortar stores that is open left in the west side of Cleveland on West 130th.
Mm-hmm.
I live its initial store was on West 122nd, and I lived on 125th. So oftentimes I would walk there, and sometimes with no money, but would just walk around and look at all the things and put my name on all the wait lists.
Oh my
so
god!
there
My
was-
god, the wait list.
I mean, it's almost like probably the equivalent now is I always hear people putting their name for the library when the library is going to get the Blu-ray or the DVD. But
Yep.
Getting your name on those elusive lists for I don't know, I'm just throwing out like Tommy Boy or or Billy Madison, when I was a preteen, those were the things that I was hoping that I can get my grubby little hands on.
It was because the wait list at the place I would go to, the first place I was going to was Curtis Mathis, which I think was just something of a chain. Like they sold VCRs and TVs, but it was a rental store. 5 movies for 5 days for $5. They had a clipboard, and I got to be that person, that kid I would ride my bike up there, and like you said, I couldn't rent anything because I didn't have any money on me. But I would just browse and memorize everything that was in the horror section, look at all the box art. And I got to the point where they would just be like, "All right, Aaron, here's the clipboard." So I would just write down what it was I wanted. Because that one too, they also had one of those big Video Hound movie guides there too. So you look up and do your, this is pre-internet, obviously. So that was the physical form of IMDb. Oh, you liked Back to the Future? Well, I need to see all the other Michael J. Fox movies. Okay, what's he got? Let's look through this guy here. Which actually I ended up watching Casualties of War very young, just because it was hey, it's got Marty McFly in it. I'm renting this one.
I remember the Carinos, their old location, they had a really cool artist who did, in the horror section, had all of the, these paintings of, the iconic horror characters. And they also had an adult section with the saloon doors.
I was just going to ask you the true test of a video store. Well, it was a mom-and-pop store. It had porn.
Yeah. Well, and I think, where Carino's Video is now, that it might, I don't know if it's exclusively an adult film place now, but they used to have posters everywhere, but now it's just everything adult videos, 99 cents for 3 days. So it's I don't know if they just fully made that transition or not, but maybe one of these days I'll have to walk in there and just reminisce for old time's sake.
I was gonna say they didn't fully transition. I haven't been in recently, but I was by it recently, in the last couple months, and no, there was still I can't think of a single new release off the top of my head. Halloween Kills or whatever, it was right. Hey, this is in. So I can't speak to the ratio of porn to not porn, but still fighting the good fight.
Yeah. There was another one on the east side that I was fortunate to, that a friend wrote a script about having a short at a video store, and it had to be on the east side. And we filmed at this place called Cap'n Video, which is off of Mayfield Road. But it did, I think no more than 6 months after we filmed the short, it ultimately went to the way of the dodo, I guess.
Yeah.
They say.
I know we're both ex movie theater employees.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever have a stint at a video store?
As a high schooler, because my parents got divorced, I was living in Berea. I put an application in multiple times at Hollywood Video. That was like the big place to rent in
Yeah.
Berea, and it was always turned down. I don't
Oh.
know. I don't know why, but I had to settle for Giant Eagle,
Oh.
or grocery store. But
Right. 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 I spent a little bit of time at. I got into a local video store here, Video Express, RIP. Local 3 or 4, locations around Parma, like the
yeah,
outer suburb kind of area. But I got in there with like 3 months left of high school, and so like the summer before college, when I went off to study film history,
yeah,
it's like, oh my god, finally I'm at the video store, and I was waiting for like that Tarantino video archives, kind of like I'm working with a bunch of film geeks here. It was just, I mean, they're perfectly fine, great people to work with, but it was just, kind of housewives that were working part time that lived in the neighborhood.
yeah.
But it was awesome because then it just quickly became like, okay, I got to know all the movies here, got to know all the recommendations for all the people. But then I just worked there over summers when I would come back from college, and it was fine. But I was like, I thought this was going to be like my unofficial film school
Yeah.
with folks, but not so much.
I still think. I mean, if they if maybe they make one of those like comebacks or something where people start appreciating them, and I'm at the age where I can retire. I would love to like just do that kind of retiree type job where I'm at the video store, but
Oh, that'd be
I'm sure
perfect.
it's going to be
Yeah.
tough. Yeah.
By the time we get to that age, we'll just have to start one.
Yeah,
Like we have enough film geek friends, we can be like, all right, we filled out a staff. Everybody just picks a day a week. But you're right though, like the upswing. Like actually, somebody that I work at the library with was mentioning how physical media. It's not like it's going to come back and be king like video stores used to be, or DVDs used to be, or VHS used to be, or whatever format. Pick your format. But in 20, wait, I think I have this right. In 2020 or 2021, I think it was in the year of 2020. Vinyl outsold, or was like the most selling music format was
yeah,
vinyl. And I was like, yeah, I can get vinyl at a lot of places now. And that, I mean, it was like when I was in high school and college, I was going to thrift stores to find whatever like old classic rock vinyl I could find.
yeah,
But like I can get like brand new albums of current bands that I love. Like it's on vinyl, it's ready to go. So maybe we can find this happy medium of like, quote, dead media. So it's not just a full video store, but it's also like
yeah.
a record shop, and it's also I don't know.
Well, it was crazy to me. Like during the holiday season, my mom wanted the new ABBA album,
Mhm.
and she wanted it on CD. And I don't know. I wasn't really thinking, I guess, but I just walked, to the local Best Buy, and I was like, "Do you guys have the new ABBA CD?" They're like, "Yeah, we've stopped selling CDs." Like I'm like, "What?" Like, oh my
Uh,
god.
yeah, actually, I've been in a Best Buy in ages, but no, if somebody was like, hey, I need to see him, like that's where I bought so many CDs
Yeah,
there. It's like Perry's Rock Pile and the local ones all shut down, and it was like, no,
yeah.
this Best Buy. It was like half the store at one point.
Right, right. I mean, yeah, it's like all the physical
Wow.
media there. I mean, I think the 4K Blu-ray maybe has like 2 rows,
Ooh.
and like just regular Blu-ray has like 1 or 2, and then that's about it. And
Oh,
it just kind of freaks me out a little bit.
a little bit, yeah. So with VHS Action specifically, do you I know you're a collector too. Do you still have some VHS that you've held on to all these years?
Oh yeah, I have quite a few. I don't have as much as certain other collectors, at least locally. I know we have a mutual friend, Matt Diltz Williams, who even started his own VHS distribution label, which I think is still, I mean, I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and that was actually some of the ones I was gonna maybe showcase one of those for my pick,
Hmm.
but I ended up going with something that was that's been on my shelf for years, but I just have never put it in the player,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
I
Okay.
and so that's why I was glad to
Finally do
to get
that.
into it. But what about you? I mean, were there certain are there certain ones that you've kind of just remember from that era, like that kind of stuck out?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I did want to kind of keep it because well, the first one that popped up in my head was Navy SEALs.
Yeah. Yes.
because I remember renting the shit out of that movie with my sister, and I, for some reason, just watched that. Like, we would quote it. It was weird. I don't know why we grabbed onto that one, but that had a life in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, it was VHS to us because like we didn't get to go see that in the theater. So I was like, okay, I wanted to divide the line here between like there was a specific market of like we mentioned on the end of the last episode. Like the Chuck Norris is kind of like one
Yes.
of the kings of the straight to VHS, which was its own legitimate market. As long as you make a movie for a huge amount of money, like you could make that back by being just sitting there with a like cool box art,
Yeah.
at video stores across the country. If you can get distribution, like that was legitimately like that's how it would get out there. So I wanted to stick to like, yeah, like the Chuck Norris, like there was one fire starter with he and Louis Gossett Jr.
Yes. Yes.
It was like Indiana Jones knockoff. So like you whatever was big in the theater in like the 80s and in the 90s, you'd have like the right to straight to video. You could rent it now because that other thing was in the theaters, and you could rent
Yeah.
the knockoff version off VHS.
And just make
Um,
the cover as close as possible without getting
yeah,
any copy
right,
infringements.
right, yeah. Don't get any lawyers involved, but
Yeah.
maybe lawyers help you make it so that you don't get any more
Right.
lawyers involved. But there was a few names that popped up that I dove into a little bit. Like Cynthia Rothrock did like the martial law series, and China O'Brien. I think there's a couple of those, or like Don the Dragon Wilson. Like he was all over like straight to video action
Yeah.
stuff. I
I
didn't go with either one of those, but those are the first ones that popped into my head. But also I wanted to watch something that I hadn't seen before for this one too.
Yeah, having I've always am so fortunate that we had HBO in my house growing up, because certain names like Jeff Fahey kind
Oh
of popped
yeah,
in my head. Like he was in a lot of those, or
yeah.
Richard Grieco.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Oh, if looks could kill. That was another one. We watched that a lot.
there's also like a couple actresses who always seem to pop up in like Sherilyn Fenn or something, like after Twin Peaks seemed to
Yep.
like be in a lot of those B movies, and
A lot of erotic thrillers, if I remember correctly.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, excellent. Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, that was sort of how I whittled it down. And we'd mentioned on the other episode too, like the Action USA,
Oh yes,
or
so good.
what was Miami Connection,
Yes,
Samurai Cop. Some of those like getting more into the so bad they're good
yes.
kind of territory, which I have a couple of those for like my honorable mentions. But the one I picked actually I picked because I went through a bunch and had a blast with them. But like I legitimately think it's a good movie. The one I actually picked. So, did you have any honorable mentions you wanted to throw out before we?
Well, like I said, the Future Video, which is a local distribution company here in Cleveland, Matt Ditz Williams, he just put out this release called Revenge of the First Wives, which is a really quite hilarious action movie. I mean, it was shot on video, like probably mini DV, and it really entertaining. He also just recently gifted me one for Christmas, which was like a zombie army movie. But I don't know. There's one that I know it played in the theaters, but kind of along the lines. But like there was this Alicia Silverstone movie, The Crush.
Oh yeah.
With Carrie Elways. Like to me, even though that did play in theaters, it's like I recently watched it. I've been going through these old VHS tapes, and apparently, like I taped it off of Fox when it premiered on there.
Oh, the
And
TV edited version too.
yes,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, it just like it's just one of those movies that fits those. I know it's not action, but it
right,
just kind
right.
of fits that kind of trashy,
Yeah,
uh, B movie
yeah.
vibe. So, ultimately, the one that I ended up going with this week was, you know, when working in, as you and I have both done, we've worked with the Cleveland International Film Festival, and
Mhm.
for many years, it was held at Tower City. So sometimes when you're working there for 14 days straight, you start kind of venturing into the mall, and there's this dollar store there that used to have a rack of DVDs,
Oh
and
yeah,
it
they
just
did.
always had weird covers. And so I was there one of the days. One of the fellow workers, whose name Ben, who worked at Capitol Theater for a while there, told me, like, we passed by this one DVD, and he's like, you need to buy this. You will love this. And I'm sad to say that until, just, preparing for this episode, it was still factory sealed on my shelf. But now I'm going to show you, and I know this is not video, but I'm going to show you in the video, but it's called Laser Mission with Brandon Lee.
Michael Gold. Are you here for pleasure or business, Mr. Gold?
A little bit of both, you might say.
What kind of business do you do?
People management and conduct behavior modification. I don't work for America. I work for money. You didn't tell me who he was or why he was so important.
Braun is perhaps the world's leading expert in laser weaponry, and his presence in the Kavango means that the Soviet bloc is planning some sort of laser mission.
Your research can't fall into the wrong hands.
I want to build, not destroy. Fine.
I'm going to find your father.
That's if they don't kill you first.
All right, who do you work for?
Eckhart, Peter Eckhart. Very dangerous man.
Think of this room and your daughter in it.
What kind of monster are you?
This is like a nightmare.
Well, at least we're out of danger now.
Asshole!
That's Mr. Asshole you.
Let me ask you something. Do all your dates wind up like this?
Whoa.
So
I definitely had a Brandon Lee phase.
yeah.
I did not catch that one.
So this one, I'm just going to read what's on the back of
Sure.
and I'm sure maybe was on the back of the VHS tape, but when the world's largest diamond is stolen to be used in a top secret laser weapon, Michael Gold, a mercenary, is sent on a mission to get it back. He must also bring Dr. Braun, played by Ernest Borgnine,
Oh my
back
God.
to the United States, dead or alive, before enemy forces get a hold of him. The future of the world is dependent on one man. So I
Wow.
really am now kicking myself that I never watched this, because this was one of the most entertaining, horribly bad
Yeah.
action movies that I've ever watched. I mean, it checks off a lot of the the touchstones of the movies of this era. There is a theme song called Mercenary that was penned by Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits.
Okay. I was like, that name sounds sort of familiar.
But he is not credited at the end of the film. I'm just wondering if maybe he saw it and he was like, take my name off.
Get my name
piece of
off that.
shit. But the song plays like 4 or 5 times throughout the film. It
Wow.
includes some of these scenes where when people are shot, there's these elongated like where like their
Yeah.
like kind of arms are flapping, and there is kind of a buxom blonde
Of course.
who helps him on his missions, and they first don't like each other, but then they end up liking each other. All the bad guys have like a nondescript European accent that sounds kind of Russian, kind of German. A lot of the names in the end credits were German, so I'm guessing that's what I'm going to go with. That they're
Yeah. The country of origin it's saying here online is West Germany. So
Yeah.
we know what time period that was as well.
And then there's this one particular scene that made me laugh was some of the editing in this movie is so choppy, especially in these action scenes, because I'm
No.
sure some of the these elaborate things they were trying to do just didn't or didn't match the budget. So
Sure.
there's one scene where he like falls on a roof, and then it's like a weird awkward cut, but then he falls onto a table where a couple is about to eat,
Okay.
and he says something like,
I just dropped in to say bon appetit.
I mean, it's just it's so bad. But the one thing that I thought was interesting was that this was kind of it was like put out there, but very limited in video. But according to Wikipedia, it was financially successful because they released it after The Crow came out.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I think I'm guessing, like, because I think maybe this was one of the first things that he tried. Maybe it was a test. It was to see, like, does he work on screen like his father?
Oh, sure, yeah.
But
What I was going to ask is how's the martial arts? Like, is it he knows how to do it? So
there's not a ton of martial arts in this. There's a lot of gunfighting. There's a lot of like explosions. Without spoiling it, I mean the baddie. There's a lot of fake deaths involving this baddie. Like, you think, maybe Peter Jackson's like Return of the King. There's like 3-4 endings that
right
are happening. Like,
yeah.
This guy, there's like 3 or 4 times where you think in your head, like, this guy is definitely dead. Nope.
Nope.
He keeps coming. He keeps coming back. Honestly, if midnight movies ever come back, post pandemic,
Yeah,
I think this would be a really fun one to play. Now, the video quality of this particular DVD was terrible. It's very kind of grainy. It was shot on 35, but this DVD did not look.
Is it one of those, like, maybe it was transferred from VHS?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it says it was made in India. It's like a region free.
Oh, yeah.
But I had a blast with this, and I'm hoping I can find more like this. And I guess by also looking up, this is available to watch on Tubi.
Yes, I just was seeing that here. In the queue it goes.
So, what did you end up picking?
So the first couple of things I thought of were a couple I just want to do a quick shout outs for.
Sure.
The first one I thought of was Cocaine Wars from 1985, starring John Schneider, aka one of the Duke brothers. I forget if it's Bo or Luke Duke from Dukes of Hazzard. And he's a DEA. Well, part of the reason I was looking at that one was it's that era of Roger Corman in the 80s.
Yeah.
So, like, he's moved into, like, okay, VHS is where I can go, not necessarily the drive-in. Like, there's not the B movie pictures on the big screen anymore. We can make a killing at the VH or at the video store with VHS. So it's one of his produced, not directed. It's one of his produced. It couldn't be more cocaine, like the whole movie through. At one point, like, he's out in Central America someplace. He's trying to, like, break up a drug cartel, blah, 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 whatever. There's one point, though, where a big bag of cocaine gets ripped open. And if I remember correctly, he suffocates someone into the bag of cocaine. I was like, you can't get much more 85 than suffocating somebody in a bag of cocaine. I think it's streaming. Yeah, it's at Tubi or Amazon or someplace. It's a ton of fun. It's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. The acting is maybe slightly better than, like, a Samurai Cop or Miami Connection, but it's sincere. Like, it's, he's trying to be an action star, and he can do some stunts because he did Dukes of Hazzard for a while, and he's got, for an 80s dude with a mustache, like, he's got a certain amount of presence on screen. And it checks a lot of boxes. There's obviously Uzis are being used. There's a rocket launcher. Someone's on fire. Actually, I think there's several people on fire because I think somebody has a flamethrower at one point. There's a helicopter, shootout or chase or whatever. Like, all those 80s tropes that, like, just whatever you want to line up, they threw it all into that one. The other one is actually another Wars one, which I didn't think of ahead of time, but LA Wars from 94. Vinegar Syndrome put out a year or so ago. It's even worse acting, but they got this guy, Vince something, who's like a famous, I guess, Canadian kickboxer. Well, it doesn't matter if he's Canadian, but he's a famous kickboxer, happens to be from Canada. So it's like, Jim Cotta at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's kickboxing, but he cannot act. But they leaned into the the Uzis and the machine guns, and then the fight. Like, it's really gory. There's a everybody's just shot up in that one. It's really, really fun. He's a disgraced cop who doesn't play by the rules. That way he can go undercover with these crime bosses, and it's all just like it. So the one's 80s cocaine action and one's 90s like straight to video action. It looks kind of like it was shot, definitely still shot on film, but like it just has like the big puff, not quite parachute pants, but those like the dress pants everybody wore in the 90s that were just super puffy, and like got his shirt tucked in, and he walks because his whole body's like a triangle shape because he's so top heavy and all that. But the one I actually went with actually kind of ties into Brandon Lee, because Brandon Lee co-starred with Dolph Lundgren
Yes.
This is not my pick, but they co-starred in Showdown in Little Tokyo, which is great.
Yes.
Great action fun there. But I thought, as soon as I heard the name Dolph Lundgren when I was poking around in the VHS Action, the VHS Action depths of streaming, pretty much on Tubi or Amazon or whatever, I was like, Dolph, okay, I need to find a good Dolph. Because I've only seen like 2 or 3 of his. He just wasn't one of my guys back then.
Yeah.
That I went with. 1996, he did a movie called Silent Trigger.
Let's do it right this time. After all, this is the end of the line.
What are you talking about?
My final target.
Ground 0 to Eagle 1 and 2. Target approaching kill zone.
Eagle 2 copy. We have target acknowledgement.
Eagle 1 copy.
Guess what he plays in Silent Trigger?
The trigger?
No, he just played the trigger. No, he's an assassin.
An assassin,
Yeah,
yes.
he's an assassin, of course. So this is Dolph Lundgren. This is post 80s. So this is after Red Scorpion. This is after like all of his 80s hits. This is 1996. Co-stars with Gina Bellum, who I knew as the ditzy character on Coupling, kind of the British version of Friends.
Oh, okay.
Way back when. These two have amazing chemistry together. Like she just whisper like with her. Actually, she's New Zealand, but like she has like a slight, she has her accent, but everything's really breathy. Everything she says, it's like, is everything like? So he's a sniper and she's the the spotter. So they're a team.
Yeah.
So he's ready with this giant ass, 50 cal gun, whatever it is, and she's the one who like uses the separate scope and tells him like what the wind is and what the trajectory and all this. But like every bit of dialogue she's giving him I was like, oh, they're a couple. But it turns out they're not. Like you're seeing this opening scene is he's going to take out this. It's a political assassination. They give you no details. Like his name is Sniper, her name is Spotter. The other 2 characters, one is called a guard because it's a guard at this tower that they're in. And then I think one of the other characters has a name like O'Halloran or something. I forget. It doesn't matter. It starts off with an action scene. He's shirtless. Fucking frame 1. Dolph Lundgren waking up shirtless, getting ready to go to work as a sniper. I'm like, I'm in. This is perfect. And then what happens is he can't pull the trigger. So like, I don't know if that's.
Oh, he gets nervous.
Well, he's just like, he can't take out this. It's like a female politician. He can't do it. She's like holds up a baby at some point. The crowd loves her. But now he becomes the enemy because he could not do his mission. So he's on the run with her. And then really what's going on is he's called in for one final mission. So you have the opening action set piece scene. It's great. The company, the shady organization, which is never named, turns on them. And so they kill all the people that are trying to kill them. And then they escape. And the whole thrust of the film is he's at this still under construction hotel called the Algonquin. And so he's at the top floor, cuts out a piece of glass, and he's going to, his next mission is he has to shoot someone. But the way the organization works is they send a sniper and a spotter, and, you don't know who you're going to be working with, but that person shows up, and that's who you're working with. Of course, it's Gina. She's back, the spotter. And so what you get are these flashbacks to, like, how that first hit went wrong and what happened. And in my head the whole time, like I said, she's so breathy, and they're clearly flirting the whole time, and they have great chemistry. Like Dolph Lundgren, I would not have said, like, has great chemistry. Like he's got charisma and he can do a certain thing presence wise, but it was like, damn, these two, like it is legit hot. And then it turns out like they don't even have a past. They're just like that attracted to each other. And then, of course, 2/3 way through the movie, they hook up. Finally it happens. You're like, oh, okay, now they're a couple. Good. I've been rooting for you to get together because I thought you were this whole time.
I gotta say, I'm really loving as I'm Googling this, I love the poster image of him with this like insane looking gun.
Giant gun. I mean, it's an assassin's gun. Like you lay down on the ground and you shoot it. It's got the tripod, but he's Dolph Lundgren. So at certain points, he just picks it up and he uses it like you and I would use like a shotgun. He's just like, and he's, oh my God, the recoil on this thing would just knock me like, 10 feet back. So the weird part of this one is when he's at the Algonquin for the next hit, he also can't pull the trigger. And it's not done as like comedy, but like the commentary here was like, he's an ex-special forces soldier. And I was like, I don't think you're a hitman. I think you've got some PTSD. I think you've got some things you need to work out, man. Like, talk this through. you and Gina could just, you and your spotter can just retire off to some island and just let's process some of, the horrors you've seen. But since he can't pull the trigger, then they're always the target then.
Now, I have to ask, does he have any, because I'm I will admit I'm a huge Rocky IV fan. I watch it all the time. But I do have to ask, is there any moments where he has any lengthy monologues or anything? Because otherwise I'm going to probably start immediately watching it after we record.
Here's the thing with this one. Russell Mulcahy, I think I'm saying his name right, the guy who did the Highlander 1, Highlander 1 and 2, and he did Razorback, Australian director, I believe. The writer is Sergio Altieri, who I'm unfamiliar with. He wrote this movie and a movie called Blind Fear. There's really not dialogue in this movie. The visuals in this is why I'm saying it's actually I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd. It's a good ass action movie, but it leans into visuals and atmosphere. It's raining all the time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much all set in this one location, like I said, except for the flashbacks to how they met in their first action or their first mission. And it's just one night. And there's 2 security guards. One security guard is this coked up guy who at one point I think sees spiders crawling everywhere. Keeps going up to the top floor because they know they're there because he really wants to rape the spotter. It's gross.
Pretty lady. Come on, open up. Open the fucking door! I just want to talk.
I'd like that. But I really can't right now. I have this delicate equipment at work.
How about working on my delicate equipment?
What do you want?
I just want to apologize for before. I didn't mean anything by it.
Apologies accepted. Now get lost.
You're just making it fucking difficult on yourself being such a bitch again. That's okay. It really doesn't bother me. Because I'd really love to treat you like one. Your fucking 357 ain't gonna stop me.
But she's a trained professional. So at one point she draws her gun and puts it right in his crotch, and she's like, "Well, it's not a big target, but it's close range, so I can't miss," or something. She's holding her own. She's good, but he's so rapey. It's pretty gross, but it's also just that's a whole chunk of the side plot. But it's all just visuals, and I know Russell's Mulcahy's got a background in feature films also, but he's done if you look up his IMDb, he's done a ton of 80s music videos.
Oh, okay.
It really has a music video visual aesthetic or a perfume commercial at some points. It's God damn, why does this look amazing? This is a half-built building with just flowing tarps and shit. And you're it's it edges near some John Woo territory.
Wow.
I don't know. The action isn't as compelling as some of the John Woo stuff, but visual.
Sure.
He's not leaning into a story here. He's leaning into the visuals, and I was like, holy shit. The goodbye scene for this movie is he shoots his gun at her, not at her, near her, pops the top off a fire hydrant so that she's now soaking wet again. But she knows that he's alive because he used his sniper rifle one last time to soak her.
Is that the Point Break or Point Break?
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. No, and then she's like, "Okay, my guy's still there." And I was like, "He just shot at you." Oh, but it doesn't matter because you're just like, "Yeah, of course, this is how you two communicate."
Man, I'm seriously, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah, no, I think we've sold each other because I got Laser Mission queued up right now on Tubi. So, what a find!
Yes,
what a find.
Well, so. What have we got? What are we going to be doing next? I mean, I gotta say, I know we're only 3 episodes in, but this is really triggering some just some deep dive stuff that really in my wheelhouse.
Well, this is your turn to pick. So what do we got up next?
That's my bet. Yes, we're gonna go with Ozploitation. So things from the land down under.
Which actually, if I remember correctly, Russell Mulcahy, I believe, born in Australia, because I think Razorback is one of his early ones.
Yes.
I'm going to go with a different director. I've been wanting to watch that one, but Ozploitation is is interesting. Have you watched anything you would consider exploitation?
Well, I will say this is maybe somewhat of a cheat, but several years ago at the Cleveland Cinematheque, they played a doc called "That's Ozploitation." So it was
yes.
like an overview of Ozploitation, but there was, there are way more streaming options now, and I'm sure ways to see some of these things than were available maybe at the time when.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even. Maybe it was like almost 10 years ago or something. But
I remember there's one, I think, is it one of the same one, Not Quite Hollywood?
Yes, that's it.
That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's great.
Not Quite
Yeah,
Hollywood.
I had a long list after watching
Yes.
that of what to go find.
No, it like, for any listeners at home, it might be a good, thing to watch before this episode, just because it has so much like action, boobs,
yeah.
like, I mean, it's like it's like a hardcore R-rated documentary, and of the most like fun type, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. I know that one I went out and watched immediately after that. There was one called Dead End Drive-In.
Oh, that sounds
was streaming somewhere, because I was like, oh, Drive-In, I'm hooked. Yeah. But it was like a post-apocalyptic. I'm going to get this probably wrong. I don't have it in front of me, but it was like, it was like, this is the Mad Max era, exploitation. Like,
yes.
George Miller's down there doing his thing. And I remember that one being like vaguely like post-apocalyptic-y, but it was all set at this drive-in where like a mini little society popped up. Or no, everybody's banished there. It's like we're all the juvenile delinquents. That's where they stick all the juvenile delinquents. That's what it was. Like a FEMA camp kind of thing for juvenile delinquents. But this would be fun. I have actually quite a few on my list. I'll have to go find from Not Quite Hollywood and see.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll go pick out some films and check back shortly and talk soon, Mike.
Talk to you later.